Eating disorders affect men more often than many people realize.
It's not uncommon. As much as people think it's really rare, it is not uncommon.
In the United States, approximately 1 in 3 people with an eating disorder is male. Up to 25% of individuals diagnosed with anorexia are men. And research shows 10 to 20% of male athletes experience disordered eating behaviors.
It's a very slippery slope that athletes can go down when they're pursuing that peak performance.
In sports where performance and body composition are linked, the risk can be even higher.
I was chasing this perfection.
David Proctor is an elite runner from the United Kingdom. In 2004, he accepted a full track scholarship to Boston University.
I figured I can come to the States and make use of the facilities and see where my career goes.
But early in his freshman year, he felt homesickness and the pressure to be perfect.
Perfectionism is a major driver of disordered eating. People who are pursuing perfectionism are usually doing it in many areas, one being their sport, but 2 being their body, their appearance.
A comment from a coach about his weight influenced the way he viewed his body and performance.
I sometimes get reluctant to tell the story because it makes him sound like a bad person, and he's not a bad person. He just happened to make a comment one day that I was potentially gaining a bit of weight, and he kind of came over and pat me on the stomach, and he did it very publicly. And as soon as he said it, you kind of feel all the eyes burning into you from all angles.
Proctor began restricting his food intake.
I completely stopped eating completely, and I'm pretty sure I lost about 20 pounds in 2 weeks. The only feedback I got back on that was kind of a positive feedback loop where, okay, you're looking better now.
When Paula Quattromoni, a nutrition professor at Boston University, came to speak to the track team about athlete fueling and performance, David set up a one-on-one meeting to discuss his goal of even further weight loss.
I think she was expecting me to come up and ask how I could gain weight, and it was the complete opposite of what she thought I was going to ask for.
He was met with compassion and care for fueling his body.
It was such a trajectory-changing conversation. I could have ended up dead.
Proctor's recovery journey didn't happen overnight.
I'd say things like, if I eat lunch today, I'm going to run terrible. I'll be so fat. And she's like, prove me wrong, prove me wrong.
His experience highlighted a larger issue within collegiate athletics.
Unfortunately, a lot of athletes don't have the right information that they need to structure a fueling plan that's really going to optimize their training and well-being as well as their performance.
At Boston University, Quattromoni has helped build a bridge between athletes and the Sergeant Choice Nutrition Center, a program at BU dedicated to providing nutrition information and programs to students.
We opened a Pandora's box. If you build it, they will come.
Now, BU athletes have access to 2 dedicated sports dietitians.
We will give team talks for different teams here at BU. We also do individual counseling, so we work one-on-one with the athletes to really work on whatever goals they have or any nutrition-related issues.
The university also established a dedicated fueling station within the athletic facility, stocked with performance-focused options like carbohydrate-rich snacks, protein sources, hydration support, and recovery foods.
It's just important to know what we should be putting into our body and when we should be doing it.
The station ensures athletes have immediate access to proper nutrition. The goal is consistency.
Especially when you're in season like we are right now, it's just something that I think is super crucial, and it's going to get you, over that limit, being able to keep going and keep playing at your best.
There you go.
Now, at 40 years old, Proctor continues to compete at an elite level.
It's much better to be strong and fueled and feel powerful than it is to just be light and breakable, because you will eventually break.
He still returns to Boston University to race on a track where his middle distance records remain on display.
This time that we ran ended up being the fastest time in the world that year.
At a recent BU meet, he ran 4:05 in the mile, becoming the fastest Great Britain athlete at age 40 to complete the distance.
But that is a big improvement.
And Quattromoni was there cheering him on. At the height of his disordered eating, David told us he was chasing perfection. The only thing he could focus on was being 140 pounds with 3% body fat. If he couldn't reach that, he told himself he was failing.